morning, students. So, myself, Nikhil, and Professor Chitnis sir, both will be discussing about extrusion as well as rolling in today's class as well as in the further classes. So, what is extrusion? A simple example of explaining extrusion is squeezing out the toothpaste from the tube. So, basically, uh, the metal is held inside a container just like the toothpaste, and it has a small opening at one end and the other end is completely sealed. Or from the other end we are going to push the push the metal so that the metal takes the form of the die at the other end. So these are the things that we are going to cover in this particular presentation. What is extrusion, introduction to extrusion, the different types of extrusion process, deformation, lubrication and defects in extrusion, then extrusion of seamless tubes, and finally extrusion variables. So extrusion is a process by which a block of metal is reduced in cross section by forcing it to flow through a die orifice under high pressure. You can see over here the different cross sections. You can see there's a rod, it's a tube, a T shape, a dovetail shape cross section, a square cross section with a hole, a C section, and different types of possible extruded parts. Extrusion is a process of confining the metal in a closed cavity and then allowing it to flow from only one opening so that the metal will take the shape of the opening. This process is quite similar to squeezing of a toothpaste out of a tube. So regarding the complexity of the parts that can be obtained by extrusion is more than that of rolling. So rolling will be discussing it in the further classes. The reason is the die required being very simple and easier to make. Also, extrusion is a single pass process, whereas in case of rolling, we can go for multiple passes to reduce the cross section and provide suitable shapes. Whereas in the case of extrusion, it's a single pass process. In a single pass itself, we are going to get the required shape. So, what are the different types of extrusion? So, usually we have the classification of extrusion. Under classification, we have direct extrusion, indirect extrusion, cold extrusion or impact extrusion, and finally hydrostatic extrusion. So basically these four are classified based on the type of force that we are applying. So in direct extrusion, we are applying the force in the direction of movement of the metal. Movement of the metal as well as the ram is in same direction. In case of indirect extrusion, the movement of metal and the movement of ram is in the opposite direction. In impact extrusion, there is a impact force being applied on the metal. And finally, hydrostatic extrusion, we use the power of water or any liquid in the case of hydrostatic extrusion. So there are some more examples of parts made by extrusion process. You can see different cross sections, simple to complex. You can see the complexity goes on increasing. So the first and the simplest of all extrusion processes, direct extrusion. You can see over here, this is the container. You can see this is the container holding the billet. And over here we have the die. And this is the die holder. The die holder, this is the die. And the billet is extruded from this die opening. And at the other end we have the ram and we have a dummy block. The importance of dummy block will be discussed further. So you can observe that the dummy block is usually slightly smaller than the actual size of the container. Okay. So this is the ram. So the movement of ram as well as the extrusion movement is in the same direction. So such a case is called as direct extrusion. So it's also called as forward extrusion. The flow of metal to the die is in the same direction as the movement of the ram. A dummy block is placed behind. So over here you can see this is the billet. So most of the times it might be heated up to a certain temperature. So that is certain temperature to to reduce the friction. But most of the times what happens is, since it is touching the inner surface of the container, chances are it resists the force acted by the ram. So in order to reduce that, there's a small opening between this dummy block and the container. So the material sticking to the inner surface of the container will be left out and the remaining portion will be extruded. The reason, and this surface which is not extruded, it remains in the chamber, and this is called as the skull. So this skull will be removed using suitable process at a later stage. So the major disadvantage of the process is that large frictional force is developed and hence large force is required to extrude the parts using direct extrusion. So in the case of indirect extrusion, see the construction has completely changed. You can see the ram is on the other side. It is a hollow ram. In the previous case, it was a solid ram. You can see there was no opening as such. Whereas in the case of indirect extrusion, we have the die itself is placed in the ram. You can see on the other side we have a closure plate. This is the die opening. The ram itself is holding the die, and this is the container in which your billet is held. So it is also called as backward extrusion or reverse extrusion. Here, just a minute. This is also called as okay, so this is the sketch of the indirect extrusion. It's also called as backward extrusion or reverse extrusion. Here, the flow of metal to the die is in opposite direction as the movement of ram. You can see the ram is moving from left to right, whereas the extrusion is taking place from right to the left. Okay, so it is also called as backward extrusion or reverse extrusion. Here, the billet will remain stationary while the die is pushed into the billet by a hollow ram. You can see this is the hollow ram. The billet is held stationary, whereas in the case of direct extrusion, the billet was moving. So there is no contact between billet and container. There is a contact, but the amount of friction is very less. Hence, force required comes down drastically when compared with direct extrusion. But the problem with this particular indirect extrusion is the initial investment is higher, and also it is slightly costly, and it is a complicated process when compared with direct extrusion. So this is the difference between direct extrusion and indirect extrusion. Over here we have a graph of extrusion pressure versus the ram travel. You can see over here the forces required as well as the the amount of ram travel. To some point, direct and indirect extrusion, the amount of pressure required is almost the same, and slowly you can see the amount of pressure required for direct extrusion goes on increasing and slowly it starts reducing. Whereas in the case of indirect extrusion, the pressure required is almost the same throughout the process. Okay, so you can see over here there is a sudden rise in pressure for direct extrusion and gradual decrease in pressure, whereas in the case of indirect extrusion, you can maintain a constant pressure throughout the process. Okay, so that is the advantage of indirect extrusion over direct extrusion. Next, we have hydrostatic extrusion. You can see over here, it is quite similar. The construction is quite similar to the direct extrusion. We have plunger and ram applying force indirectly on the billet or on the workpiece. Over here, we have pressure at the fluid at high pressure. Okay, so this is your die opening. You can see this is the die. This is the die holder, and this is the sealed container or the chamber in which the entire setup is held. So pressurized liquid medium is used to deform the metal rather than direct application of load. So what happens with this? The amount of friction between the work and the container wall is drastically reduced. It is almost negligible. So negligible friction occurs between the work metal and the container wall. So hence, less force is required for this particular operation. So also we get good dimensional accuracy, good surface finish is also seen in hydrostatic extrusion. Even brittle metals can be extruded easily because of high pressure. But maintenance of this setup is a bit high, equipment cost is also high, and it has to be operated carefully. Next is cold or impact extrusion. There are two types of impact extrusion. One is direct and the other is indirect, or forward impact extrusion and reverse impact extrusion. You can see this is the die we have. We have a work metal and this is the punch. So the punch is forced into the die, and the gap between the punch and the die provides you with the shape of the extruded product. Okay, so over here you can see punch approaching the work at a very high velocity. So this is impact extrusion, and part is formed by impact with work. You can see this is the die and this is the punch. So in cold or impact extrusion, metal is kept in a shallow die cavity. A rapidly moving punch deforms the metal and it takes the shape of the punch as well as the die depending on the size. And this is usually performed in cold state. In the previous cases, the temperature is raised, the billet temperature is raised, whereas in the case of impact extrusion, it is performed in cold state. And usually the soft materials such as tin, aluminum, copper are used, are deformed using this particular method, cold or impact extrusion. So impact extrusion is a discrete manufacturing process in which a metal part is extruded through the impact of a die with a work stock. The part is formed at a high speed and over a relatively short stroke. In standard metal extrusions, the force to extrude the work is commonly delivered by way of a hydraulic press. In impact extrusions, mechanical presses are most often employed. The force used to form standard extrusion is usually delivered over a horizontal vector, producing a long continuous product. Force used to form impact extrusions is usually delivered over a vertical vector, producing a single part with each impact of the punch. So the impact extrusion is often performed cold. Occasionally, with some metals and thicker wall structures, the work is heated before impact forming. This process is best suited for soft metals like aluminum. Aluminum is a great material for performing this impact extrusion. So these are the different classification or the ways in which you can extrude a component. The first one is direct extrusion. Next we have indirect extrusion. Then we have hydrostatic extrusion, and finally cold or impact extrusion. I would request Chief Minister to give out a few points regarding these four types of extrusion.
Yeah, thank you, Nikhil. My colleague Nikhil sir has already given about the extrusion, but you may be interested in the extrusion products which sir will take at a later stage. But what I am saying is, you can look around anywhere and look at the products, and you may find many products which are extruded. The thing is, the products extruded can be manufactured by rolling process also, but the extrusion has its own advantage. Extrusion has its own advantage. That is, for a shorter period, for shorter length in the sense what I am saying, even with 1 feet or 2 feet length, the extrusion products can be manufactured. The cross section of the die can be anything. It may be T, it may be L, it may be U, it may be circular also, anything. Whatever cross section of the die opening is there, the same cross section is obtained. This is for your information. There are few products which are specially designed or made so that they can be manufactured by extrusion process. Another process of metals which is important but almost do the similar products is drying. Yeah, I am not referring to sheet metal drying. This is a bulk metal forming drying operation where here the material is pushed and in the drying the metal is pulled. Sir will take that part later. However, Malik, drying is already covered by Malik sir. So what you can do is, you can compare drying process with this process. But only thing, in drying process you require the guidelines of a very high length, because material is literally pulled, but here the material is literally pushed. I suggest you to have a comparative study of drying and extrusions.
Thank you, sir.
Now let us have a look at the graph. Okay. Sir, common point. Huh? Yeah. The sir is showing that common point. You know what is that point? That point is the point of elastic limit. The material flow starts only after that. That's why the curve up to certain point is same whether it is a direct extrusion or indirect extrusion. That means that if the material has to flow, see, basically the metal forming process is a material flow process. If the material has to flow, it has to cross elastic limit. Till elastic limit, direct and indirect extrusions are same. After the elastic limit, the difference comes. This is what you must be in a position to read the graph and interpret the graph. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So next we have the analysis of extrusion. Before we start with analysis of extrusion, we'll try to understand the different features of a simple extrusion die. Okay. So over here we have the extrusion die, the die opening. This is the containing chamber. This is your billet. And over here we have a dummy block and we have the ram. So we'll try to understand the different areas. So over here we have A and B. This is slant container having the die as well as the container. So this zone is called as the deformation zone. Then between B and C we have something called as the bearing gland. And finally C and D is called the back relief. And also we have alpha, the angle that is formed between the die opening and the die. So this is called as half die angle. And on the opening side between C and D we have a small angle that is called as the relief angle. So what is the importance of all these? So the first one is deformation zone. So it is the horizontal region between A and B. The work metal of the cross section begins its reduction in cross section from point A to point B. You can see over here the cross section is gradually decreasing from point A to point B. So the cross section is gradually decreasing. The half die angle forms an important parameter of the deformation zone. The lower angle will create more friction at the die work interface, resulting in greater force for the extruded given part. Okay. So this half die angle plays a very important role with respect to the deformation of the metal. On the other hand, High die angles create more material movement, particularly in outer regions from the center. So if the angle is more, the movement will also be more. The greater material displacement gives greater turbulence in the metal flow. Increased turbulence in the flow also increases the amount of force necessary for the operation. Next, we'll move on to the bearing line, that is between B and C. So this is a region in the die having the smallest cross-sectional area, or this is the actual point wherein the deformation takes place. The bearing region does not cause any reduction in cross-section, but it produces a frictional drag. It is going to create a drag on the work metal. So this is about bearing line. And finally, we have the region CD, or also called as the back relief angle. In this area, the die allows the metal to expand slightly at work. So you can see over here, the metal is completely constrained till this point, up to point C. So that it is in continuous contact with the container or in continuous contact with the die. At point E, you can see there is a relief angle, and CD is called as the back relief area. So the metal is allowed to slightly expand as the work metal leaves the die. From point C, the die is inclined to a slight extent, providing relief to the extruded metal. Back relief also minimizes the possibility of abrasion taking place if the extrusion stops or die is out of alignment. So this is the importance of the relief angle. So you can see the things explaining again, proper design is important to obtain the desired shape and accurate dimensions. So from the image you can see AB is the deformation zone, alpha is the half die angle, alpha, if the alpha is high, friction will be more, if alpha is low, more material can be extruded. So BC is the bearing land. Here no reduction of work takes place, there is no reduction of the work, okay. It only creates frictional drag. And CD, back relief angle, it provides slight expansion, it provides the space for slight expansion while the work is leaving the die. So this is the importance of the die. There are two types of die used. This is the flat face die and this is a conical die. The alpha you can see is 90 degree in the case of flat face die, and in conical die the alpha is between 45 degree to 60 degree. So this is about the features, the common features that you can see in any of the extrusion dies. So next, the analysis of extrusion. So in extrusion process, the theory of plastic deformation of a material is applied for analysis as well as the production. The theory includes the concepts of metal flow, temperature and heat transfer, stresses produced, extrusion force and pressure. In a simple homogeneous compression like extrusion, similar to this particular process, the metal flows plastically when the stress reaches the value of flow stress. So this is what we have learned in the first unit. The flow of metal during extrusion depends on many factors such as billet's material properties at extrusion temperature, the billet container, the billet die interface, okay, wherever there is rubbing action, the friction between the billet container, the billet and the die, okay, the extrusion ratio, the type of extrusion, the type of layout and the die design, as well as the speed of extrusion. So these are the various factors which affects the extruded product. Typically, three types of flow patterns are observed during the process of extrusion. So whenever you start extruding a product, there are three types of flow that are formed. Flow pattern, you can see there are three types, 1, 2 and 3. You can see the lines over here, it's almost uniform. Over here it is slightly distorted at the corners, and over here it is completely distorted, okay. So the first one, type A. Over here the flow is quite homogeneous and is found in the absence of friction at the billet container as well as the die interface. To obtain this type of flow pattern, it is necessary for the die to be fully lubricated in fully lubricated conditions between the material, container and die interfaces. So next, so over here you can see there is a little amount of friction Whereas over here in B, there is a lot of distortion. So this pattern is obtained in homogeneous materials when friction along all interfaces exists. So you cannot completely eliminate friction. There will be some amount of friction. A separate metal zone is formed between the die phase and the container wall. So this is your die phase and the container wall known as dead metal zone. So the flow of metal is completely restricted. In this case, the material near the surface undergoes shear deformation and it flows diagonally into the die opening. You can see over here, the metal flow is continuously flowing through this diagonal. From the extrusion profile, the extrusion has non-uniform properties. The flow pattern is good for direct extrusion process. So there is some drawbacks, okay? And finally, this type of pattern is the result of non-uniform temperature distribution in the billet or non-homogeneous material properties. So the billet material also contributes to this type of flow. The high shear zone in the material extends farther back and also forms a more extended dead zone. You can see over here, we have this shear zone only till here, whereas over here you can see the shear zone extending till the back of the die. In hot extrusion, the material near the container walls cools rapidly, hence strength increases. Thus the materials in the center zone of the billet flow easily into the outer zone. This flow pattern leads to a defect known as piping or extrusion defect. So these are the three types of flow patterns, and preferable one is A, and practically B is the possible type of flow, and we should try to avoid the last type of flow. Okay. So why lubrication is necessary? And so you have understood that why lubrication is necessary in the previous slides. So the most effective lubricant is glass. It is used for steel, stainless steel, and high temperature alloys. So if there is a hot billet, it is usually covered with glass powder. The die surface, a circular pad is applied under heat. A glass reservoir is formed, a separate glass reservoir is formed. Glass acts as a lubricator as well as thermoregulator. So it helps maintain the temperature. And different types of lubricants that can be used is lanolin, graphite, soap, tallow, etc. So these are the things about. These are the different types of lubricants that can be used. So next we have different types of extrusion equipment. So extrusion operation, hydraulic presses can be used. The advantage of using hydraulic presses are it provides a constant force at a constant speed over a longer stroke. But hydraulic presses are not suitable for all applications. Say for example, that is impact extrusion. We require high force at a high speed for impact extrusion and for a shorter stroke. So mechanical presses can be used. Hydraulic presses, there are two types, horizontal type and the vertical type. The horizontal type, you can see over here, the horizontal type takes more floor area. There's some amount of deflection as well as problem with the alignment. And in the case of vertical type, it consumes less floor area and the extrusion length will be drastically reduced. Sir, can you tell more about presses? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Nikhil. Nikhil sir has always mentioned with the die that there is a ram. Normally, this ram is a part of hydraulic press. Now, what happens is, hydraulic press is a pure application of fluid power, which you will be studying in the next semester. Okay. In hydraulic presses, the energy is obtained by a pressurized fluid, and the fluid is pressurized by a pump. And in most of the fluid power circuit, the pump plays a very, very important role. Normally, the pump has the fixed specifications like pressure rating and flow rate. and the multiplication of pressure and flow rate will give you the press tonnage. That is, flow rate in cubic meters per second and pressure in newtons will give you the press tonnage. A typical saying is even a small and also the cylinder diameter plays an important role in obtaining the tonnage. For example, a simple 2 kilowatt pump with the pressure rating of 70 bar and the cylinder diameter of 50 mm will yield 1.3 ton of force. Will yield that you can just of the toy type. Even say toy type hydraulic circuit will lead 1.3 tons of force. Normally, the best part of a hydraulic presses are that they operate smoothly. But as sir has suggested correctly, that if you want the impact force, then hydraulic presses are not suitable. For that, you have to go with mechanical presses. Also, in some other application, I am not necessarily referring to extrusion. In some other applications, mechanical presses are much faster than the hydraulic presses. But hydraulic presses, you can have better control over the deformation rate, and that's why you get the quality product. But what my personal experience tells me that is around more than 80% of the applications have the hydraulic presses. Thank you.
So as sir said, the application of mechanical presses are very limited, and impact extrusion, as such, can I say, sir, that impact extrusion is not commonly used. So direct, indirect, as well as hydrostatic extrusion are more used because of the advantages of that dimensional accuracy can be controlled in case of these three types of extrusion. So next we'll move on to the extrusion of hollow sections. So the extrusion of hollow sections, you can see over here we have the piercing operation. So we have the billet. Okay, we'll discuss about this. But extrusion is the best method for making seamless tubes or seamless pipes. So pipes and tubes, there are two types of pipes. The first one is welded pipes or welded tubes, and then is seamless. That is no discontinuity with respect to that can withstand high pressure. So pipes and tubes without any seam can be used for high pressure applications. So while extruding a hollow section, mantle is attached to the ram. You can see over here, this is the mantle and this is the ram. Mantle is attached to the ram, and one end of the mantle is attached to the hot billet. It is pierced till the entrance of die opening. You can see over here, this is the die opening, this is the ram. The ram itself has the mantle, and the mantle is pierced till the entrance of die opening. So hence long hollow tube extruded can be extruded out of this particular cavity. You can see over here, so this is the starting of the piercing operation. So you have the hot billet, and the mantle is being forced into this through this billet and towards the entrance of the die opening, and it is completely pierced through the die opening. You can see this is the mantle, this is the ram, and now the ram starts moving and the billet is forced into the die opening. So automatically you can create a hollow tube, also called as the seamless tubes. So seamless tubes are extensively used for high pressure applications. So extrusion is the best method for making seamless pipes. So pipes and tubes, there are two types. There is welded and one more we have seamless. So seamless is no discontinuity to withstand high pressure. While extending a hollow section, mantle is attached to the ram. One end of the mantle is attached to the hot billet. It is pierced in the entrance of die opening. You can see over here that is the first step and this is the second step. Okay, so the mantle is pushed till the entrance of die opening. Hence long hollow tube can be extruded out of the. Okay. So next we'll discuss the different extrusion techniques. So in direct extrusion, inhomogeneous deformation happens. So the center billet moves faster than the outer or the periphery. So dead zone formation causes or oxide fringes are formed on the surface. Then transverse section, we have annular ring of oxide layer forms. To avoid this during extrusion, extrusion is done only up to the point where surface oxide begins, but around 30% of the billet remains unused. So sometimes an axial hole funnel is created at the back end of the extruded metal. So this has to be discarded. There might be some surface cracks, just like this over here. You can see this is called as fir tree cracking. And center burst, this is the center burst you can see over here. So this is due to low extrusion ratios. So further, there might be chances of internal cracking. You can see over here, this is the defect. This is the internal cracking. The center of an extruded workpiece can develop internal cracks, also known as center burst, center cracking or arrowhead fracture or chevron cracking, that develop as a result of tensile stress around the center line of deformation zone. You can see this is the center line, and if there's a tensile force in this particular region, so such internal cracking can occur. This occurs because greater material movement in this outer region stretches the material along the center of the workpiece, and if the stresses are great enough, internal cracking can occur. So variables can also contribute to internal cracking. These variables are high die angle, low extrusion rate, impurity in the workpiece metal, and friction. These defects may be detected only by non-destructive testing methods. So these are subsurface defects. Next we have one more defect called as piping. So it is one more defect that occurs in extrusion, okay, which occurs when an extrusion is carried out so far that the pipe which forms in the back end of the billet. So this is not actually a pipe being extruded, it is a solid material being extruded, but at the end of the extrusion we can find a surface similar to a pipe. So modifying the flow pattern, how this can be reduced? By modifying the flow pattern to a more homogeneous one, such as by controlling friction and minimizing the temperature gradients. This can reduce the occurrence of this defect. Another method is to use a dummy block whose diameter is slightly less than that of billet. This also helps avoid the piping. So usually in direct extrusion, we always go for a dummy block. So finally we have surface defects. Surface defects can be produced by longitudinal tensile stress generated as the extrusion passes through the die. This defect usually occurs with a harder, more brittle alloys as a result of attempts to extrude the workpiece too quickly. So the extrusion rate should be based on the type of material that you are using. So if you are extruding a brittle alloy too quickly, then this particular defect can be found, and the exact cause is not clearly understood. Surface defects can often occur when the temperature and speed of extrusion are too high, leading to higher strain rates. So this is about the different types of defects in extrusion. So what are the different extrusion variables? The three important extrusion variables are temperature of the billet, the ram speed, and extrusion ratio. Extrusion ratio is the ratio that the area of the billet versus the area of the extruded part, by how much we are reducing the cross section. Okay, so billet we have over here, you can see in the diagram, this is the cross section of the billet. So this is bigger, and this is the cross section of the extruded part. This is called as the extrusion ratio. So it is always greater than 1. Okay, since we have the cross-sectional area of the billet in the numerator and cross-section of the extruded part in the denominator, so it is always usually greater than 1. As the ratio increases, force decreases. So as the extrusion ratio increases, the force required goes on decreasing. So regarding temperature of the billet, as the temperature of billet increases, force required in extrusion is low. So as the billet temperature is increased, the flow becomes quite easier. And with respect to the ram speed, as ram speed increases, pressure increases, and temperature developed also increases. So all of the three should be at an optimum level: the ram speed, temperature of billet, and extrusion ratio. So these are the various things that we have discussed in extrusion. Initially, we started with the introduction to extrusion. Then we have the nomenclature of the die, that is the different features of a die. Then we have the classification of extrusion, direct extrusion, indirect extrusion, cold or impact extrusion, and finally hydrostatic extrusion. Then we have the analysis wherein we have discussed about the three types of flow that happens in extrusion. So when there is no friction, a little friction, practical, and finally more friction. And finally we have the different types of lubrication. Then we have extrusion equipments, different types of extrusion equipments, mechanical presses, hydraulic presses, horizontal as well as vertical one. Then we had discussed about extrusion of hollow sections, that is seamless tubes, extrusion of seamless tubes. Then we have discussed about extrusion defects, and finally extrusion variables. So with this, we'll end this presentation on extrusion, and in the next class we'll be discussing about rolling. So, Chitti sir, yeah, I'll hand over the.
Thank you, Nikhil sir. Here, one point that I would like to mention is, sir has covered it aptly and everything, but you also have to inquire. For example, whatever your extrusion parameters are there, they are not parameters only for extrusion, but they come under tool design also. For example, suppose in your profession you want to design an extrusion die. Then are you designing it for what temperature of extrusion? That is also important, because here one of the variables is temperature. As the temperature increases, the flow stress decreases, and because the flow stress decreases, the total force on the die reduces. This is one parameter that has to be looked into carefully. Another, in general, sir also has covered in his class earlier, and we also covered that there is hot working and cold working. Here, hot doesn't mean at a elevated temperature. Even a steel working at say about 300 degrees centigrade can be termed as a cold working. The reason is the cold or hot working depends on the recrystallization temperature. Correct? So you can work cold working, cold extrusion process, keeping your material below the recrystallization. So all these things, parameter, you should study and apply yourself. And if you happen to be in the tool design profession, these things become important. This is for your information.
So with that, we conclude. See, regarding extrusion variables, even extrusion shape also comes into picture. But these are the three main things: the extrusion ratio, the ramp speed, as well as the temperature. So even the shape also contributes to the final product, the quality of the final product. Thank you.